John, welcome to the Farms Vice podcast. You're probably the biggest YouTuber we've had in the studio.
Thank you for having us.
So harvest is all finished up and you're moving into Christmas. It's pretty good to finish harvest. Was an early finish for you?
It was, yeah. So typically my daughter's birthday is on the 12th of December, and we always try and finish before then. Like that's the goal. And then it's all the debagging to do after that. But yeah, no, this year was like mid-November, something like that. So it was very nice. We were all wrapped up and everything was done. Cleaning is the one that took a while. We're still, after this podcast, got to go and wash the tractor and the chaser and park that away. But that's the last bit of equipment. And then we can all actually just relax for
Yeah, it's nice. Over here on the East Coast as well, I think pretty much everyone had an early one other than SA if they did get a harvest, or Victoria as well.
Yes.
It's nice to roll into Christmas not having to get the crop off as well for it. Pretty good milestone to your daughter's birthday as well.
Yeah. No, it's stressful if it gets a bit close to Christmas. Yeah, we typically never do that. Except for 22 when we had 200 mils of rain during the harvest seasons. That sort of delayed us a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, John, introduce us to the people, the listeners out there that actually don't know you. They may have watched a video or two of you on your farm in WA. Where'd you come from? Have you always been on the family farm? And how did you get into the role? Pretty unique role, I'd say, you've got now, being on farm, but also YouTubing at the same time.
Yes, yeah. So that's a different element that wasn't forecast. So born and bred on the farm. So we're located in Esperance. So we're actually in Cascade, which is 120 k's north of Esperance. When you say Esperance, people think it's God's country, but it's such a big area that there's such variability across the zone. So yeah, we're like north of the zone. But yeah, it's a beautiful place to live and beautiful place to grow and raise a family. So not complaining there at all. Yeah, so Cascade has a little community. Basically, it's just got a school, a hall, and a CBH bin. And so I went to school there, and then did school up in Perth for high school. After that, I sort of didn't really know what I was going to do. During school, I was sort of thinking maybe mechanics, something like that. And then, obviously farming. I always loved farming. We've had the farm. I grew up on it, and decided to go to Muresk, which was at the time a part of Curtin, and that's a ag uni. Went there, did about a year and a half, and I thought, I think I can learn more from Dad than what I can from uni, because it was heavily focused, because it was such a small uni. You couldn't choose your specific way you wanted to go. So you come out with a Bachelor of Agribusiness, but early on, it focused a lot on the stock side of things, everything like that. I wasn't interested in stock at all. We've been out of stock since, I think, about 2008, 2009, maybe even sooner than that. Wasn't interested in stock, at all. So I sort of wasn't concentrating on uni. Back in 2010 is when I decided I'd come back to the farm, and haven't left. Been here ever since, and it wasn't until I think 2 years ago. So two harvests ago, I think, when we had George Summers rock up, and he was a pommy who enjoyed watching farming YouTube, and he watched all the big guys, and he goes, "Oh, have you ever thought about maybe showing that and showing the world what you do? Because I think people might enjoy it." And I sat on it for a while, because I used to do videos of just little music videos of harvest or seeding, things like that. And then I was like, I'll give it a go, and haven't put the camera down since. So it's been stressful, but it's an enjoyable hobby. So yeah.
So you've only been doing it for the 2 years, roughly.
Yeah, I think it's about 2 years. Yeah, 2 harvests, I think, is what I've done on it. Yeah. Yep.
That's some pretty good growth. I was always wondering where or how it even started. So George sort of spurred it on and got you going for it.
Yeah. And then, just trying to share it across all my social media platforms and sort of try to grow it from there. And I think we're just shy of 18,000 subscribers now, which is not a small feat. Yeah,
which is pretty bloody big I told someone how many downloads we have a month for this, and I know around 11,000 at the moment. He said, "Oh, that's pretty good." I was like,
Yeah.
"Geez, I was more than that." But no, 18,000's nothing to cough at. That's huge. What have you learned? Do you think that you probably wouldn't have if you didn't start showing your experience?
What have I learned? Got to have tough skin, obviously. And you probably know the same with having a podcast. And podcast is a bit, you can get more opinionated on podcasts. So one thing I've learned is not to put my agenda or opinion out on social media. I feel that if you do that, you will alienate quite a lot of, a certain group that were enjoying your videos. And then, if you, I don't know, were to say, who knows, your political views or your religious views or just a stance on something, it really shuts down people really quick and can then turn your comment section pretty nasty. I think we haven't had too many trolls or anything like that, but we do get the occasional one, and you just got to have tough skin, basically. Yeah, it's always hard putting yourself out there to begin with, and then you sort of just get used to it, and it's now just a part of life to walk around with my arm out and be wanting a GoPro at myself. And yeah, it's definitely
What's
weird.
and the crew around you think of it is like, there goes John and his bloody camera again, or they're starting to get around it?
Yeah, look, at first it was definitely difficult for Dad and Henry. I'm supposed I'm more of a extrovert to them, so the camera in my face isn't too bad. And so it did take a while for them to come around to it. Still can't get Henry to take a camera, but that's fine. I do get a lot of comments, because I'll say, "Oh, Paige is in the chaser and Annabelle's just over there in the header," and people are saying, "Well, can we see them? Can we have the camera go to them and they can take the camera?" But yeah, I just try and respect them because I say, "Look, I walk around with a camera. I try and not. If you don't want to be in it, then I'll try my best not to." And yeah, I just obviously. It does annoy some people because they're just looking at me the whole time. Yeah, they don't get to experience, I guess, the full side of things because, I'm on the ground and people are in the chaser or the header or the sprayer or the seeder. And yeah, so they don't get to see the full side of farming. But yeah,
It's a good part of it anyway. Do you want to give us a little bit of an overview of your farm, like your cropping program,
yep,
and what you were stripping off this harvest?
yep. So we're 4,500 hectares, and we split that basically pretty evenly into thirds between canola, wheat, and barley. But we grow. God, now I got to remember all the varieties. Pretty simple. Scepter is our wheat. We don't go too extravagant. Barley is Cyclops and Rosalind, so they're both feed varieties. We grow feed because back when we used to grow malt, we were spending way too much money trying to get that malt level. It worked out. We then tried a feed variety and we made more money off feed. So yeah, that's the reason why we don't grow a malt. But I am going into Maximus next year, so hopefully we can give that a go. And then canola is this year we did Bonito and Renegade. So Bonito is been around for quite a while, and this was its last year with us. And Renegade, this was its second year and performed quite well. That's staying with us, and we're going to give Velocity go next year as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a canola priority.
yes, yeah.
What?
No stock. Yeah, just
Yeah. Who's the decider on the varieties? Have you trialed them a few since you've been home in 2010, I believe you said?
yeah.
And so your parents, like, how have you sort of gotten the best info to maybe we will go back to Maximus for our barley, or malt's not for us? How'd that work?
So basically, it was what's the flavour of the year as we were going along, and we'd get little bulking up bags. So you get like, what is it, 4 ton of barley or 4 ton of a wheat variety, and then you can bulk that up, gets to about 50 hectares, something like that. So we trial throughout the whole time we've been going, and then if the variety performs well, then we keep it. If it doesn't, if it does about par, then we'll keep it and give it another go. But if it doesn't do well or doesn't suit us, then we just throw that. The decision for Velocity was we've got a NVT trial that was canola very close to here, and went and had a look, and the Velocity was looking quite nice in the trial and suits our rainfall zones. Going to give that a go. Haven't dabbled too much into the GM side. Yeah, we're just all non-GM at the moment. With this new bar that we're getting, I should be able to put canola exactly where I want it and get it to germinate. So if I'm happy with that, then I'll be able to justify spending so much on canola seed. So it's the biggest one.
Yeah. Can be bloody expensive. Where do you put your crop results like over the years? Do you just have a spreadsheet or a platform that you're using to sort of flick
Yeah,
back what worked and what didn't?
pretty much. It's just basically a sheet of paper, and it's got, this year we grew this much barley, this much wheat, this much canola. Don't keep record of unless we were to go on to My John Deere and search through it that way. Don't keep a record of like the varieties that we trialed and didn't. That's not in a spreadsheet or anything like that. It's just that worked well. We'll keep that. Yeah, that becomes our new variety for the next 4 or 5 years, and then something else comes along, and yeah.
Storing your grain, you're bagging it as well as you've got silos and bunkers. How does that sort of work for you?
Yeah, look, so we used to not, obviously bags weren't a thing, and then you just got hundreds of fill bins, and you're just trying to blend moisture out, things like that. I know a lot of the comments I get is, why don't I have a mother bin? Why not just have 300 ton of storage straight out instead of having 7 fill bins that I have then got to move augers around? And the simple reason is, in our zone here, we're only 50 k's away from the ocean as a crow flies, so we get the sea breeze, we get moisture. Sometimes we don't start harvest until 1 o'clock in the afternoon because our moisture isn't right, and moisture then fluctuates so much that we can have wet grain in one fill bin, get some dry grain, get some wet grain, and then we just blend it all out. And then that's when the bags came in. It meant that we could start at 15%, and we could actually make our harvest go quicker because we're getting done quicker. And we'll bag at 15, and then we'll bag on a really hot day at 11%. And then at the end of the year, we then just blend those 2 bags together. And that way you're getting your quality still on your grain, and you finished harvest. There's no early mornings, late nights, no tension between the team with everyone getting tired, and no rain events or wind events. Our biggest one is wind. We can have a wind and just destroy our barley or our canola, things like that. So bags have been a brilliant tool. The biggest downside of them is it's a lot of one-use plastic, so they're not recyclable. Be great if we could, but unfortunately at this point in time, they're not recyclable, and at the moment they're just one use.
It'd be bloody hard to get some biodegradable bags or even farmers to trust them because they can bust pretty easily. Am I right?
Yeah, especially hot days, and when you're going to debag them, so get the grain out. You can. Some people have been unfortunate enough to have them split, and they just split all the way down the top, and there goes a ton of grain on the ground that now you got to try and figure out how to get up and shovel. And it's I'm sure there's a better way to do it, but at the moment that's what works for us.
How are you marketing your grain if you retain a fair bit during and then post harvest? How do you sort of get the most from your grain? You'll be selling it, most of it, next year?
No. So at the moment, actually, I sold it all of it yesterday. When we get all our grain into CBH pretty quickly. As soon as harvest finishes, we're straight into debagging. If we're able, this year we did go to the dryer for a fair bit of it, but normally we can just go straight to Cascade, and that we're doing 2 to 3 bags a day. We had 14 bags on the ground. It doesn't take too long when you can go straight to Cascade. Our biggest year was like 30 bags. Again, you're just shuffling it, you get it all out, and then you just market your grain after that. Grain marketing's an interesting, it's an interesting topic in itself. We use 10 Tigers, so they're a grain marketer. So they always send us out a text of what the prices are doing. They've got an app so we can see what our current average price we've set for things are, and we can compare that to our budget, things like that. But we try and sell our grain during harvest, or just post harvest, and try and not keep it too long into the new year, just because markets tend to stall and it just all drops out. And for the sake of going for that extra, I think I sold the wheat on yesterday at $3.77 or whatever it was. For the sake of getting to that 380 for $3, waiting until Feb or something, if you're paying interest on loans or things like that, it's just much easier to get it all in the bank. And then you've got it for, when we're doing our budget come January, we know exactly what we've got. Yeah. And yeah, we probably would have missed out on a few $1,000s, but it really isn't much in the scheme of things. Yeah. Grain marketing it's a tough cookie. Yeah. Especially when you sell and then the next day the price then just skyrockets. And yeah, it's
Your price must be a little bit better than ours at the moment. I think our wheat's gone down a fair bit. It was closer to $300 over here.
yeah.
But
Okay.
I might be wrong. I haven't looked at it in the last few weeks. So you're selling most of it coming into Christmas. What's the next sort of jobs coming up on Tom's Brooks farm?
So we finished our seed grading, which is that happened this week. So that's all good. Don't need to worry about that for the new year. The new year will be
Going through, or is that you're just grading all your seed?
that's seed for next year for next seeding. So that's I think I've got 120 tonne of wheat, about the same of barley, and then about 3 tonne of canola. So yeah, that's all just on farm storage in our silos. But the other jobs will be, if we get some rain, it'll be some spraying. Failing that, and so we're going to be carting water for houses, for gardens, things like that. Yeah, just odd jobs really. We've got a whole bunch of wood to cut up. It's just odd jobs until we get into something that we can sink our hands into, and the next big job, whatever that's going to be.
What's the rainfall? What are you sitting on over there?
So for this year, off the top of my head, I think would be about 250 or something like that. Our typical, our 10-year range average is about 400 mils. So yeah, last year we were 175. So yeah, this year we're obviously a bit better, but yeah, we're not getting summer rains like we normally would, and we normally rely on. But yeah, our dams are getting dry. We don't have any spray water, so we're going to be cutting from different dams to try and get that to work. And yeah, it gets difficult to manage.
That's a huge jump, because isn't Esperance, or it's 100 or so k's away? It would be close to a metre of rain, wouldn't it, for the dairy green lush country?
Yep. So you'd be looking around that 600 to 800 mils. Yeah, I don't think anyone down here gets a metre, except for on our really wet years. They definitely do. But yeah, I think that their long-term average would be about that 600 to 800, something around there. So yeah, when I'm only 50 k's away, you can see the difference of the guys that are they'll be 200, 300 mils more than me easily.
So what did you change for this year if you've only had 200 mils so far? That's 200 mils for this year you've had.
I'd be 250, something like that. But yeah,
Hey?
What was that, sorry?
Have you had to change something? Because we had you were quite dry, I think, when you in 21, 22 coming into this year. What was, like, cropping wise, because you put so much out on the line to begin with, or like to even put the crop in, did you put crops in all the paddocks you wanted to, or did you sort of step back?
Yeah, no, I've seen our wettest year and our driest year ever in my short farming career. So many things have changed since when Dad was running the farm, and that they went through some really hard years, but they were also running stock, and the practices just weren't there compared to what we are now. We've got precision GPS, we've got precision planters with our seeding, we've got amazing spray technology now. So I don't hold back. At the moment, I just always just keep on. I stick to the plan. I don't reduce hectares. Our practices are, so much better than what they were. That even on 175 mils last year, we grew, an above average crop. So it was, your minimal till, the spraying. As soon as we see weeds, we get out there and spray. It'd be lovely to have a camera sprayer, but we don't. So we're blanket spraying. But yeah, as soon as you get that weed that's out there taking your moisture, we're just straight away out there and spraying that. Obviously does cost money, but yeah, we hope we make it all back in the long run. But yeah, we just hopefully get rain at the right times, and also we've used sustain now on our urea, so that means it's the coating, so it's the slow release stuff, so it wasn't volatilizing. We've found that works quite well. Yeah, just changing our practices and just trying to target certain things, and seems.
Is sustain something that you put on, or you bought it with the coating?
You buy that's a CSP. Yeah, you buy it with the coating. That's a CSBP thing. All the other ones have got their own now, End Shield, and I can't remember what the other names are, but yeah.
What sort of spacings do you run within your wheat? Or it's probably within all crops, no?
Yeah, yep. So we're 12-inch, on everything.
Yeah, that's good going over there. I thought your average would have been a bit higher, 500-600 or something for where you are, because we're Dubbo. Do you know Dubbo?
I know of Dubbo. I couldn't point to it on a map.
It's pretty well, just slightly east. But we're 600 average here. 21, 22, we had 2 years over a metre.
Gee.
Last year was getting really dry, but then it's just turned around come November. This year we've had 130 mil in like 10 days.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, and
I said that to fill our dams up, but obviously you don't want that during harvest. That's that'd be
there's a bit
shocking.
stopping for a lot of people over here in the west, and even further south. I think they're getting pretty bogged up in the headers and chasers and whatnot, getting around.
Yeah, but that's why when you say Esperance, you got to sort of specify where you are, because people think Esperance, that's 600 to 800 mils of rainfall, whereas it's not. It's well, at the moment we're below 300, and normally it's 400 mils. So yeah, it's a very vast area.
We met a bloke at Lamb X, like from the sheep industry. He's got cropping as well, and he was 50,000 acres, and he said he was from Esperance. I didn't think that existed, because I only went through and saw the dairy cows and whatnot coming into Esperance from Perth, all from Margaret River.
Yep.
So I thought you would have been like 6 hours up, like North Perth. I thought that's where all was going on. It's not to be. Looking at your Instagram, you're pretty active on there. Like, you've had a few new investments. What was the last biggest investment you've done for the farm?
So the latest thing we bought would have to be, I guess the air seeder with the whole seeding program. Essentially, we've got a brand new John Deere. Don't even know the name of it. The numbers couldn't tell you. It's the new.
Is this the precision seeder, and how is it precise?
Yeah. So this is replacing our old seeder, which was Paralink. Still Paralink. Got the 2 tines now instead of just a single tine. So then that's getting our canola, our seed placement exactly where we know it's going to go. We can put it within the mill. Whereas with the Borgo, we couldn't. The bin, we're getting the new John Deere bin that's got scales on it. So that's going to help us with making sure that we're getting the exact amount of product out, and obviously section control, things like that. I've also gone for liquid, so that's a big move for me. We've been granular our whole time. We did dabble with liquid back in about 2007, 2008.
Liquid first.
Yep. So we're doing liquid. So FlexiN down the tube, replacing that for urea, and going to do trace elements. So zinc, copper, manganese. We're also going to put our a bit of insecticide down as well. So it's not on the wheat, and same with the impact. So for Rosicconia and things like that.
So liquid opposed to granular.
Look, the big reason was just capacity wise of bins these days. You got to go really big bins to be able to get your 100 hectare lots. When you're going forward, you want to see how can I improve the farm instead of just taking a sidestep and just getting essentially the exact same thing, just in a different color. So a lot of people around me are doing liquid. Still a lot of people doing granular. But one of the big moves with switching for going to liquid system is I can put more Flexion down the tube and hopefully eliminate doing my first urea spread. So normally we do 40 kilos of urea down the tube. We then come back with about 50 kilos spreading on top, and then we'll come back with about 80 litres of Flexion later on. That gets us up to about 80 units of N, which is what I sort of focus on.
So you're dropping it on top of that last pass.
Yeah, spraying it on. Yep, scramming it on. Yeah. The one issue with spreading the urea for that first nitrogen top up is the weatherman's always wrong, and I can't spread my farm in 2 days. You look at the app and you're like, oh, yep, it's going to be absolutely hosing down next week. So we're going to go all day, all night. We're going to get it done. And then you get 1 mil of rain. And then that urea is then out there. It's volatilizing. It's bad for the environment. It's bad for my crop. Yeah. So that's when the sustain came into practice. So that's the coating, and that wouldn't activate. So it had about 5 mils of rain on, and it was slow release. So it meant you could spread a month out from rain, and it didn't worry. But now I'm going to go liquid down the tube, and hopefully I think we're planning on about 90 litres a hectare. So we're really upping it. But that should get my first pass of urea done, so I don't need to do that anymore. And then that leaves my spreader free to now go off and try and do a little bit of variate potash on top of our sandy soils, and then try and improve those soils, which would normally not perform overly well. Yeah, so we're trying to free up equipment to then go and still better the farm and improve.
The potash for your soils, is that because it's low in manganese? I only say this because I was listening to an American podcast today, and that's what they were doing. But for you, how's the potash improving your sandy soil?
So it should hopefully bring up the
pH or
the pH and the potassium in your soil as well. So basically our sand just is gutless. We've got non-wetting sands, and potash seems to be the fix for it, apart from clay. But then obviously your clay, you still need to give it the nutrients it needs. So we had the potash on. Well, we haven't done it before, so this is our first time with potash, but add that on and hopefully start to see a result.
A pretty big farming property. Do your soils vary like from one end to another, or from 50 meters away?
Yeah, 10 meters away. Yeah, you can go from non-wetting sand, which will do 100 kilos, to straight into 3 ton within a matter of 10 meters. It's very frustrating. We've tried a lot of delving, mobile ploughing, things like that, and then eventually I bit the bullet, and we went claying, which is very expensive, but it works. It's expensive because it works, and it's labour intensive. But it's brought the soil back now. So where we were getting absolutely nothing growing on it, we're getting 2 to 3 ton of crop on there, which is just insane.
What do you think your farm usage is at the moment, percentage wise? How much is actually put into crop? If your farm's 100%, 70% crop.
We're 4,500 hectares, so I think it's actually 4,360 technically is what we crop.
What you crop? You could go.
Yeah, so there's not a huge amount of non-arables. Yeah, just a few trees and dams and things like that, essentially. Yeah.
What advisors do you think you use? Or you got people to help market your grain to get the best price. You probably got an agro as well that you rely pretty heavily on. How do they help you out? Probably time-wise, but also skill-wise, expertise.
Yeah, yep. So obviously we utilise an agronomist.
Yep.
And the reason is they're always up to date with new chemicals coming out, new varieties coming out, new insects that are flying around, or they can say, hey, look, we're seeing a few insects that are a little bit south of you. It's time to start sweeping, or things like that. So they've always got their finger on the pulse, essentially. And if we're talking like when we've just been seeding, you get Blaustium or Bryobia, things like that, green peach aphids, bloodworms. Yeah, just basically anything that attacks canola. The agronomist will be like, oh yeah, we're seeing it, out east, or you're going to start seeing it up your way soon. And sure enough, a week later, you're out there spraying for exactly what they were spraying for, a week ago.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I guess we could do our agronomy by ourselves, but it just takes a lot of pressure off yourself trying to study or learn new chemicals or make sure you're not going to try and cause resistance, things like that. So having an agronomist is obviously, to me, a no-brainer.
Especially if trials, they know other farms as well in the area and outside of the area to see what may work.
Yeah, and things like I said, I'm thinking of, I wanted to start growing malt instead of just growing all feed, and asking their opinion on what they think would work best. And then you go, what about, they mention a whole bunch. You go, what about Maximus? And they're like, yep, no, that would work really well for your soil type and your rainfall. And yeah, just that knowledge of, yep, you can ask them a simple question like, which variety is going to perform best in my soil type? And they can just name 3 straight away. And yeah, you're not then trying to grow a crop that's meant for high rainfall zone and then failing. Yeah, it's obviously very handy.
Yeah. I studied marketing, like my major was marketing, or I could have done rural science for the agribusiness, like bachelor. And
yes.
I probably should have done the rural science. It would have been pretty handy to have the economics behind me.
Yes.
I'm putting inputs into a podcast, not inputs to the farm. So I'll need advice on that as well.
Yeah.
So what other advisors do you use, like across the whole farm, that sort of help you improve your generation, but also the next as well?
So obviously we've got an accountant who, we're very heavily involved with them. And then the other one is obviously a financial advisor for doing things like our superannuation shares and life insurance, just arguably probably the most important thing.
Have you been with the financial advisor for as long as you know, or has that been a recent thing that's improved the game for you?
So that's been like him and the accountant came as a pair. It's been maybe 10 years or 8 years, something like that we've been with them. Before that, we were with another company, and they were not all that good, not all that proactive. So yeah, again, it was, I guess, a word of mouth thing. Who's your accountant? Who do you use? Then get it that way. And it's been brilliant for us. You got your proper amount of life insurance, and you're making sure you're also looking after yourself come the end of your career. Yeah, I think where farmers probably lack the most is that end goal. Then obviously succession planning is probably that big thing that comes into that. But yeah, the big S word. I'm an ideal case. I've got one brother. He went up to school with me, and then he didn't ever come back to the farm. He stayed in Perth. He never wanted a thing to do with the farm. Never enjoyed the farm as a kid. Yeah, so very easy for our family succession-wise. Obviously, that's not the case for a lot of other families out there, but also mum and dad, I've got to give them credit. They're very proactive with it. Now me and my wife are running the farm, and they've let go of the reins. They're still there. I'm still helping out, but they've let go of the reins, and they're now starting to enjoy their retirement, which is a very, very well earned thing. Like they don't need to be on the farm for their whole life, and they were very proactive with setting up their superannuation so that they knew they weren't going to have to rely on the farm for income come the time that they stop getting an income from the farm.
Yeah. Being your generation, probably similar age to what I am, for your family situation, not diving too deep, but what's the number one tip that you think to make a smooth transition from your perspective rather than your parents? Like, what did you see that your parents probably did or that someone implemented that helped?
You mean for me switching the farm from myself to like my daughters, or?
No, like to yourself probably, because your daughters aren't working. Now,
Yeah,
what was it seemed to be quite a smooth transition, and with how your farm looks like it's running now, it looks like it's going quite well. That doesn't happen by mistake at all. Even to be able to grow a crop in 175 mil, there must be something that is working for you. And what worked in that transition?
yeah. Just learning from everyone around you. Learning from Dad and how he operated the farm and manages people. Then copying that and implementing my own taste to it. But yeah, just listening to people talking, asking questions, seeing what other people are doing over the fence. The grass is always greener on the other side because it's fertilized by bullshit. But sometimes in there, asking a question of, oh, are you spraying for what are your inputs, and it can be quite hard for the older farmers to say what they're putting on, or their yields were. So I've found that the younger farmers around us, very open, very, very happy to say, oh yeah, we're out there, we're thinking about going out, we're going to do 120 litres of Flexian, which is obviously going to have a very good result when you're putting that much N on. But then at the end you catch up with beers and you're like, oh well, how'd your yields go? And then you go, okay, well maybe 120 litres was a bit too much, but maybe we can start to bump our thing up. So, with our driest years and what Dad went through, he was always very conservative when it came to things like nitrogen, very rough. So he has seen the hard times. He's seen the times where we've nearly had to file for bankruptcy. They've gone through it's only Vegemite and bread for breakfast, lunch and dinner. I haven't seen that. I haven't been scarred by those. So in a way, it's bad, because I can be willy-nilly, but it's also good because I can go, no, the agronomist says that we can go more with our nitrogen, such and such. They're going really high with their nitrogen. This guy's going, okayish with his nitrogen. Our nitrogen's quite low. I think, no, we should be increasing it. And I think that was the biggest thing for us is we went from, maybe around that 60 units N, maybe 50, something like that, to now we're up at 80 units as a base. So that's the biggest probably input wise going into the farm is I've been heavier on things like nitrogen, stuff like that, which has at the moment it's paid off. So I hope it still does, but the not seeing those horrible years and not being scarred by them, I'm able to push it a bit further, go a bit harder, and at the moment it's paying off.
What sort of strategies do you have, like maybe within your FERT program or even just farming in general? Like some people, you return 10% of your revenue and put it back into fertilizer to grow your profits again for the next year, or just be able to like sort of buy we buy our grass by fertilizing our pastures. You buy your sort of margin, I suppose, by fertilizing them. Is there something that you've instilled into the business or your old man, your parents, that strategy is sort of like each year you always crop because you know what you put in, what you will get out of it, and you've done your gross margins on your hectares. What's something or is there anything that you put in place?
Not something like, we're not very data driven, as in, we don't have the spreadsheet. We don't input, everything that we've put in, every ton that's come off, every price we got for everything. We basically, we do our budget at the beginning of the year like every farmer does, but we never try and skimp out on things like fertilizer. You can always ask for more money from the bank. We especially when we had that hard year when we were spending over $1 million in fertilizer because the fertilizer price just went skyrocketing, and it was like, holy moly! Like this is, Dad, I think I had to get him off the floor because he'd just fallen, fainted. It was the price for fertilizer, as we all know, was just ridiculous. But we didn't cut our.
What was the most you paid for FERT? Was it $1,800 a ton?
I couldn't tell you off my head, but it'd be damn close to something like that. Yeah. But we didn't cut our rate. You can't go, oh, okay, we'll take out a little bit of, we won't go a huge amount on on the Ag Star, we'll go half rate, and we'll go half rate of urea, and no, we won't do that urea top up. No, you got to. If you start doing that, then you're only growing half a crop, and then it'll show at the end of the year. It's the same if when China, I think, put the barley tariff on, everybody around us stopped in barley. They just immediately cut out half of their barley program and they put it to something else. But with us, the way that everything, our rotation works, we keep it. The price will, well, in my head, I'm like, the price will bounce back. It's only the very beginning of the year that this has happened, and the price did bounce back eventually. But that's a risk on my part. Still growing the barley. Yeah, it's just try and not be influenced by the year, I guess, is the biggest. You do need to be to that extent, but
I think it's knee-jerk reactions. The ones that you aren't doing are probably going to either on the way up, sort of keep it incremental, but also on the way down, you don't want to bloody plummet down to the floor straight away.
Yes.
Yeah. If it is going to a bad year, you want to sort of reduce so you know what's going on a little bit more. There's a farmer around here that says, don't take the fat out of your business, not the muscle. And the muscle for you is probably your fertilizer. So you don't want to drop back on that. So like these are the little things you pick up, the pieces of farm's advice, I call it.
Yes.
That you pick up, and it's just how little is that? And don't take the muscle out of your business. And you sort of, farmers have a think around and see what the muscle is in their business.
100%. Yeah.
Good year or a bad year, I think that's the best thing to think about. What is actually driving your business? So for you, probably fertilizer, no?
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
If you didn't fertilize next year, what do you think your yields would be reduced by? Half or more?
Yeah. It's such a important. You can't even grow veggies in your veggie garden without putting a bit of fertilizer in it. Yeah, just imagine what that would look
like.
Now, white fries.
Yeah, I'm the in this household.
But yeah, no, you just can't. You gotta.
Yeah, you've watered your own sort of paddock. Like, don't look over the fence. If it looks green, it's just, what is it? It's bloody fertilized by bullshit.
Yeah.
What do you think you do in the West? And like that's different to what we do here in the East. Is there something? Have you been over here before?
Yeah. So I came over in 2014. Went around Horsham, places like that.
That's
just on a little study tour of seeing. I think the biggest thing over there was seeing controlled traffic and bringing that back and implementing that over here.
So what? Controlled traffic not a big thing where you are?
Look, it was, but we weren't control. It's such an expensive thing to get into.
Yeah.
We went over there and we saw a couple of farms that had really implemented it, and that it was chalk and cheese. I came back and didn't shut up about it. Said, Dad, this is what we're going to do. We implemented it slowly, and it's definitely benefited the farm. But from west to east, I'm not really sure practice-wise if there's anything that we do better or worse than you guys. I think, and it doesn't involve me at all, but I think what we do better is CBH compared to how you guys have to do on-farm storage and things like that. Now you guys might like that, and that's how it works with you guys. CBH is obviously a massive benefit for us.
Maybe I'm not completely on top of it, but what do you think CBH does? Is it I'm just taking all at harvest or something, or you get better prices than what we do, or is it just access?
Not prices. It's we've got a place where we can go and deliver grain. We can get all our grain off farm. We're not having to market it. I know that there's yeah. So it's all our grain is there. We know where it is. We know how much. It's all been. I'm not sure how you guys do it, but you might sample before you're going and dropping it in your own storage. Yeah, the CBH system for us works very well. Sure you pay for it, but it's.
So do you store with CBH as well, like as a storage for you?
No, so you just basically just deliver there, and then they
That's sold. They bought it.
No, they haven't bought it. We can sell it to whoever. But it's stored there until you sell it. And then obviously you're paying for the storage fees or whatever if you're holding on for it. But
Yeah, it gives you that ability to do that. That happens here, but I think marking the grain and also that drought that we had over here from 17, it actually kicked me over into England because I couldn't take the old man's money anymore. I had to go and take someone else's because we were feeding sheep like no tomorrow and only just retaining our core flock and whatnot. We're not huge keepers, but I think that's probably got a lot of people storing on farm, a bit for seed, but also for that marketability to get the best price.
Yeah.
But I also don't mind, like, just get that money in the bank, turn it over, like that strategy, what you guys do over there, and CBH may be working really well for you guys. I think, is there more players in the grain marketing over here, like grain buyers? Is that what it is?
I think you've basically got your three or four big ones. Because we do have CBH, the market does sometimes,
Favor them sort of.
CBH are very influential. So, if they're lower on their prices, the other ones will, might stay lower and things like that. And then we, that knee-jerk reaction of, trying to get the best, if you see the price come up, you're like, oh God, I've got to sell it. And, you sell it and you go, I probably shouldn't have. It's, grain marketing is just a whole nother kettle of fish that,
Yeah. What's we've probably talked about gains on your farm. Let's talk about your podcast now, John.
Yep.
How did it start out? Did it start before YouTube or after?
After. So YouTube's target audience was basically city, things like that, trying to bridge the divide between farming and city and just show people that we are, we're feeding you. We're not killing you. We're not putting harmful products on. We're just a family. Just try and show that side of things. Now that's, you sort of get ribbed by your mates a bit going, you say, what are you doing that for? Talking to a camera, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to watch you, which is, they're not the audience. And that got me thinking. I was like, well, obviously I don't expect them to farm all day, come home and then watch watch me farm exactly what they were doing. But if they're stuck on a boom spray and they're looking for something to listen to, maybe they'll start listening to, George and myself just talk crap about, subjects. Well, it worked. That was the target audience was then the guys saying, I'm not going to watch YouTube, but I'm going to listen to this podcast because it's you guys talking shit. And you guys, I think the best feedback we ever had was one of the local guys said, it just was like we're down at the pub, after hockey training, and we were both talking. There's like a little gap in it, and he went to reply. It was like we were all right there. So that's where that came about. Yeah,
it's a bloody good thing as well, and there's not too many like farmer-led podcasts, so I think that's even better. Knows the ground sort of stuff, but also trying to break it up.
Yeah.
Talk about farming all the time, but to break up, like make it a bit more casual chat about farming or whatnot, just to, I don't know, those toolbox meetings with a beer or something, just to get them on audio. I think that's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah. It's and then obviously it's called the glass cage because we're all surrounded by glass and we're sitting in our in our tractors. Very fitting for that. And then just being able to, like you're saying, just have that random conversation, no bullshit about just talking anything. Definitely helps. When I was looking into doing a podcast, I didn't, trying to search for rural Australia podcasts, and there wasn't a huge amount that came up, like you're saying, that are farmer driven. It's CSBP, it's Rabobank, it's Landgate, it's all corporate, GRDC, and they're just trying to get their agenda across of biofertilizer, biochemicals, 4-minute podcast of, fentanyl spraying or something like that. And there wasn't that conversation. We try and get across where we're not all that serious, but we try and get across, big things when it comes into the heavy seasons of, fatigue is the big one we try and get across to everyone. Make sure that if your boss is working you to the bone, you have the right to go home. You should know your fatigue and don't work till you're falling asleep at the steering wheel at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
do you do if you're the boss in that scenario?
If I'm the boss, I'll go home and lie on the couch if I can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's cricket? Perch
yeah.
up.
Just try and you're tired when you come home and you've fallen asleep on the couch within a minute, and then you wake up an hour later and the truck's coming back. You're like, right, I can go back out and I'm all nice and refreshed. And I say the same thing to my guys. I say, I'd much rather you say, look, I'd like the morning off, I'd like the afternoon off, because they're getting tired or stressed or whatever the thing might be. Because I'd much rather you go home and rest than you smash up a $1 million worth of equipment. And I get strange looks when I say that to them. Like, are you sure? Like that doesn't sound right. I feel like I'm going to get fired, but no, it's try and get that point across, because it's such a dangerous time of year, because we are all just, we're tired, we're stressed.
Red Bull for a bed sheet. It's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
So glass cage. When's the next one going to come around? It will be starting off in 25.
Yeah. The hardest thing that happened there was, we got sponsored, and then it then became a job. So then we were every week we had to get that episode out, which is what we should be doing anyway. But the people, we've been getting a lot of comments, saying, "Where have you gone? Like, this is ridiculous. Come on, come back." But then holidays got in the way, and then George started a family, and then he's now traveling in and out of town every day. So I used to go down to his place and record down there. So we don't have a set location now where we can record and get one in. But I've been promising everyone January, so hopefully we start back up then and we'll be back to regular or regular-ish. People just want to hear you talk crap, I guess.
You've said it here now, so you can't not do it.
Yeah, got to be held accountable.
That's. Like you said, you're running your budgets in January. How do you do end of season sort of reviews? I sort of look at it as like end of a footy game. What did you do good? What didn't you do good? Do you sort of sit down and get that feedback from the crew, and just to sort of see how you can improve for 25 before you do your budget?
Yeah, definitely. Sit down, have that toolbox meeting, and be like, okay, what worked, what didn't. Can we improve something just to make us a bit more efficient, or should we not be spraying this out, or like this year our first time we sprayed the canola for blackleg, and that worked amazingly, and that's now just going to be a staple for us. That's definitely something we're going to be doing nonstop. And then obviously come budget time, it's pull up the old budget and then pull up the actuals. And as it is every year, why do we spend so much on chemical? And then you're trying to go back and, well, why aren't we budgeting correctly for that? And it's just try and improve on last year if you can, and see what happens.
It's all you can do. It's a shame you only get like one crack. We've got one ream sale a year, and to change one thing, you have to sort of impact that whole year, so you never really know. And it's the same with cropping. Right? You get your crops in, and you've only got one crack to do it. And for us farmers, the worst fact is that we've got 50 seasons on average for us. So how many seasons have you done, John? You're 14 or something.
Yeah, no, it's scary when you've
like 6 left.
Yeah.
Sorry to turn into this podcast. It's a bit dark, but it is one of those sort of things. 50 seasons on average for the farmer. Just annoying that we only get one crack. So better put a summer crop in.
Yeah, we don't have the rainfall for that. It would die straight away.
So John, over your experience, probably the YouTuber in farming, working on your family farm podcast with Glass Cage podcast there, what's the number one tip that piece of farm's advice you'd like to pass on from this episode?
Look, I guess I'll give one YouTube, one for farming. If you guys if there is young listeners out there that do want to get into that YouTube side of things, the biggest thing is just to start filming yourself, start showing it. That's what harm is there for that. Just try and, like I said, keep your opinion out of it to begin with. If you want to switch to being opinionated later on, then for sure do that. But the way to get most viewers is, to be a bit vanilla, I guess. But just get out there, just show yourself. That's the hardest part, is doing that. And then I guess the farming advice side of things, would be to look after yourselves. The biggest thing with young farmers, old farmers, is probably not looking more than a year out. So they're not looking at that succession planning, or not looking at that retirement. You think, oh, I'm going to die on the farm anyway. What's the point, or something like that? The biggest thing is to make sure that if you aren't paying yourself a decent or correct wage at the moment, which I'm sure a lot of people listening probably aren't, then make sure that the farm is paying your super correctly. Put the most aside for your super for later. Yep, you're not getting that payment. You're not getting a great wage now, but the farm can look after you by putting that, whatever it is, 25 grand or whatever it is that you can put over to your super, because you need to look after not only yourself, but your partner and your kids for later on. So that's always the biggest one.
I think that's a great one to do. And before we do cut out, you did a pretty good effort here for anyone that sees this video.
Yeah.
Normal coloured hair. How did it happen? And what did you end up raising in the end? It was all for Movember, am I correct?
Yes. Yep. So we did Movember last year. We do Movember every year, air quotations. I can't grow a moustache. My wife doesn't love it. And we always, joke around, and we do, because it's harvest time. You can't be bothered anyway. It's late nights. You can't be bothered shaving. So then I thought, no, we're going to do it properly. I've got the community behind me now. And last year we did do Movember. We ended up with $15,500 off that one, which was, I set my target for. Yeah, so that was amazing. And then this year we went bigger. We set the target at 20,000, and the goal was, I'd dye my hair blue if we hit 20, and we ended up with 32.5. So it was just an amazing effort by everyone involved, and just a truly overwhelming, heartwarming response from everyone.
Yeah, it's wild considering, like, economically, it's probably not the best times, nearing on a recession or housing prices and stuff like that, even for the farmers, our commodity price. So that's a bloody stellar effort, mate. Well done.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, no, I owe it all to the community. Yeah, I obviously did offer a lot of merch side of things, hats for people who are donating over $200. Got a lot of stuff from Terminator and a lot of stuff from Movember themselves to give away. But I don't think that's why people donated. I think they would, I read all the messages that came in, and it's something that affected them or their family or anything like that. So yeah, it was just a great response from everyone. So.
Well, next year we might have to jump on board and make it a East and West Coast. We won't go East Coast versus West Coast. We'll just combine together.
Yeah. No, that's, for sure. That's what I was planning to do for next year, is to open my team up, the Tomsbrook team up, to whoever wants to join. And then the idea is that they would then be doing it in their own communities. So the goal would be for them to try and raise $1,000. And then if they were to get $1,000 for themselves, then they'd get a Tomsbrook hat. And, if I can get 20, 30 people doing that, that's 20, 30 grand plus whatever Tomsbrook YouTube community is donating directly to myself or Henry or Tomsbrook. Yeah, it's the sky's the limit for next year. So
there we go. Before we cut out, where do your subscribers come from on YouTube? Do you know that?
Yep. So mostly Australian. So Australia would be probably 80%. Then it's split up pretty evenly between US, UK, Canada, and New Zealand. And then fair chunk of the Aussie viewers, split fairly evenly, I guess, between West and East Coast.
Beautiful, mate. For anyone looking to reach out, I know you've got a few social handles. Which ones are the best for them to go to? I'll add in your YouTube link for anyone wanting to watch your content, but what's the best social handle for you?
I guess the one that I'm probably most active on would be Instagram, which is just JH Carmody. But yeah, that's the one I'll post stories on, things like that. Whereas YouTube's just, I put the video of what we did that day up on there. Yeah.
And for all this time, I thought your name was Tom Brook. So for listeners, before we cut out properly, do you want to tell us the backstory of what that was? It's a pretty good yarn.
Yes. Yep. So back when Dad and his brothers cleared the farm, they obviously had help in when clearing it. and they were clearing around a little area which is a creek, and a guy by the name of Tom said, "Oh, Paul, would you like me to go and clear that brook over there?" Dad's a bit confused. No, that's not a brook. That's a creek. And obviously, from then, Dad called that little spot Tom's Brook. And then when we split properly, so Granddad left the farm, and then the three. Well, there's four brothers, but one was in Perth. So the three brothers split. Dad then needed to name what his farm was going to be, and yeah, they tossed up a few names, and then Tom's Brook is basically right in the center of the farm. Yeah, they named it Tom's Brook.
It's a tongue twister because of the Toms, I reckon.
Yeah, Tom's Brook. Yeah,
Tom Brook.
Yeah.
Trying to work it out. But John, mate, thanks so much for coming on the Farms Wise podcast. I think this was a bloody good yarn. Good to hear how you do it in the West there. You look like pretty good operators over there. When I'm over there one day, we'll have to come for a visit. Now that I know that you're not in the middle of WA, you're down Esperance Way.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me on. And it's been a good chat.